Good afternoon. Today we'll be learning how to make a cookie cutter out of a tin can. First step of this is to disassemble a can. I used a can opener to take off the bottom of the can to start off with. So, as you can see, I worked my way around the can, slowly cutting it. I couldn't go in one motion as the tin opener wouldn't spin. So, I'm working on slowly. Again, this saves you a bit of time in the long run as it leaves a bit of a cleaner edge so it's easier to deal with. You work your way around. Eventually you'll come to a point now you'll see the can lid starts to lift off. You just keep working. And here we go, you'll see it just comes off now. Quite simple, here it comes. As you can see, there it is, gone. So, the following step will be to look for the little line along the can. This is the seam of the can. So take your scissors and cut along the seam. Starting off at the bottom or top, up to you, but cut halfway. Don't try and cut too far as it becomes quite difficult and it becomes easy to miss the line. Swap it over and continue back from the opposite side. Again, just cut until you're cut and it should come apart. This should create quite a clean cut. In my case, it left a tiny bit of metal, which you can see I've pulled off and put aside. So now you want to straighten your can out a bit. By doing this, you're just making it a bit easier to work in future. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is find the center of the can now. You're going to use a Koki to do this, preferably a whiteboard Koki as it's easy to clean off and you don't have to worry about it too much. So as you can see, I've started off here by trying to figure out where the dips are, as it can be kind of hard to make these out from the trough. So start off by working your way through, by just marking each one and counting. You'll notice here I make one long one. That long one is the center of the can in this case. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make little holes along the can. This is the way I'm going to break this can off. You can use other methods. This to me is the easiest way to get a straight line. I just used a knife that I didn't really care about as it will get blunt, a cutting board to protect the table below, and you just work your way along. As you can see now with all the little holes, you just got to bend it a couple times for it to start breaking along that seam. So I just bent it over, being careful not to bend it too much to the point where I damage the can itself. So you go through again, a bit of a wiggle, and there it comes. So it'll take a bit of time, but you eventually get it. You get better at it as you do it more and more. Almost there, breaking it now. There we go. So the next step will be to look at your edges. See this one here? It's quite a clean edge already, to the point where we don't need to touch it up. This one, however, as you can see, is a bit raised on the one side. So what you're going to want to do is cut along the surface with your pair of scissors just to make it neater so that when you fold it over, it looks a bit better. So as we cut along here, I'm using the little ridge where it changes in elevation as a way to line my scissors up and follow. So I'm just taking my time as it will save you time in the future with not needing to redo this step. Well, there we go. Now you can see this edge is a lot cleaner and can be used now. Well, so that's pretty much it in preparing your can. Hello, today we'll be making a triangle cookie cutter. As usual, first steps are to identify your points that are important and to fold over the top area so that it is safe to push on it when making the cookies themselves. You'll notice here for the triangle, even though there's only 3 sides of a triangle, we have got 4 sections. Reason for this, as usual, is you don't want your connection between the 2 cans to be on a corner. So I've measured that the 2 long sections are the 2 long sections of the thing. The 2 short sections are each half of one of the long sections. There's also, I've added in a little bit extra for the fold over where the cans will be connecting. So I've drawn my line where I'm going to now fold over the top just so that I have something to follow. Again, you can do it freehand. It's not something that you need to truly focus on that much. It just needs to be done to make sure that it's good. So you notice there that I am now going to cut off a section. Now, as in the square video, we have a bit of excess material here. So we're going to cut it off and get rid of it before we do any work to it. Okay, so now we're going to start folding this metal over. Exact same process as all the other videos, so hopefully by this point you understand how to do it, so I'm not going to mention much. Again, fingers just to push it over. Any places where it's being a bit stubborn and a bit difficult to push over with your fingers, just use the pliers to bend it a bit further and then your fingers again. Just like in all other videos, this section now, you do as much as you want to the point where you're happy with it. Okay, so now that that is done, we've got a nice surface on the top to push on. Now we're going to start doing our bends. All of these bends again will be in the same direction. So we're going to start off by marking out a line where they take place. So there's our first one, second, and finally our third main bend. The first point and the last point are the 2 points where we'll be folding over the can so that they can hook together. Just like in every other video so far, we're going to bend the can all in the same direction. So you can see I'm just straightening the can out a little bit because obviously you want the triangle edges to be as straight as possible, but it won't be perfect. Okay, now that it's straightish, we can begin the folding process. You can see I line my ruler up as usual and bend over. Again, these bends don't now need to be perfectly accurate at this point. All we're doing is getting them started. Once again, another bend, as stated before, in the same direction as the first. And finally, the last bend. And there we go. The triangle is starting to take shape, as you can see. Now you see how the joint is in the middle of the one long side, which is what we were aiming for. So now we're going to use that little bit of extra material that we added onto it for the foldovers. As usual, each of the foldovers here have to be in opposite directions so that they hook into each other when you are connecting it. Just bend it over with your pliers like you see. And then the opposite way for your other one. Again, you choose which side you're going to bend which way. Now, a keen viewer will notice that one of these bends didn't work out properly. You'll notice how the one side is slightly too long. You'll see now when I connect it, it doesn't connect up properly. This is why taking some time in this section here is a good idea. You'll see here I try to fasten it just to see how it would look. You'll see here now when I do it, it's not lining up perfectly. So all you've got to do if this happens is simply unbend your fold and just rebend it, taking a bit more care because you don't want to damage anything. So you can see I wasn't happy with this, so you'll see now I will just fix it quickly. Okay, and there we go. Looking pretty good at this point. Finally, you can see now I wasn't happy with one of how the corners of the triangle turned out, so I just fixed that up as well. Of course, all of this is able to be done afterwards, and you have your triangle cookie cutter. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the cookies you make.